On today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, the Nuggets finally got a clutch time win. The Spurs once again handled the Detroit Pistons, and some upsets brew in the NBA today.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Rommel, host of Locked On Heat. And we're taking you through the Thursday night in the association, as we always do. Everything that happened today, including the Nuggets getting a clutch time win, the Lakers falling in that game, the Spurs handling the Pistons, the Bulls pulling off an upset, and a lot more on the docket today. David, let's start with the last game of the night where the Denver Nuggets finally got a clutch time win, and it was the Lakers who fell. Let's go out to Andy Kamenetsky of Locked On Lakers to help us recap this one.
Andy Kamenetsky, co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast. The Lakers lose 120-113 to the Nuggets in Denver, a game the Lakers arguably lost in the first 2 minutes and 55 seconds, where they managed to go down 11-0. Jamal Murray hit a three in the first 19 seconds, which created an early avalanche, and the Lakers were fighting from behind for the rest of this game. They tied or won the other three quarters. They harassed Nikola Jokic into 9 turnovers, and they had several nice pushes, but they just could never quite sustain the momentum. So many smoked Lakers layups. LeBron James hurt his elbow on a hard fall, I should say, late in the fourth quarter. He briefly re-entered the game, but then came out and couldn't finish. So we'll see if he's available Friday versus the Pacers. DeAndre Ayton left the game in the first quarter, 5 minutes in, with a knee injury, never re-entered. So the Lakers, health issues yet again. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
Go check out Locked On Lakers and Locked On Nuggets for more on this game. David, this was a game that Andy is right. The Lakers lost in the first 2 minutes because from there, Denver did a great job of controlling this game, of keeping the Lakers at bay. The Lakers tried to make a push at the end of the second quarter, and then the Nuggets rallied off a run to get back up by 10 points at intermission. The Lakers tried to make a run at the end of the fourth quarter and got it in clutch time, got it there at the very end for a chance down 3 to tie the game. Missed the corner 3, and the Nuggets end up holding on. They go wire to wire in this game, never trailing, never tied, and at one point having a 15-point lead against the LA Lakers. Jokic had the 9 turnovers. That's impressive for LA to hold their hat on, but he still had 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 13 assists, a triple-double while shooting 66%, including the game-sealing bucket there at the end. What do you think of the Nuggets operating in the clutch and getting a win this time?
I think they look pretty good. Obviously they're still missing key players and still trying to figure things out, but you know what? They managed to figure it out at the end there. I think it speaks more, honestly, to the Lakers sort of falling apart there. As Andy pointed out, yeah, they weren't particularly good at the beginning of the game, but they were mostly solid throughout the games. But they had plenty of opportunities to close the gap there and just weren't able to get it done. So I think it's a combination of both Denver looking particularly sharp tonight against the Lakers, and the Lakers just looking a little bit more, mediocre more as more time passes. They're not good enough. You hear an 11-0 deficit. That doesn't sound insurmountable. We see that all the time around the league, and other teams, worse teams that don't view themselves as contenders, try to come up and we'll figure out a way to even up the game after that. But the Lakers, they're just not good enough. They're not built to be able to overcome that size deficit. And, obviously given their defensive issues and everything else that we've talked about in the past, a little surprising perhaps that they're just not able to overcome something like that, which does not, again, feel that insurmountable.
Yeah, it is just tough for the Lakers, who got a lot from Jaxson Hayes off the bench, as Ayton only played in 5 minutes in this game. Rui Hachimura was good off the bench for them as well.
Yeah.
Luke Kennard, a couple timely buckets off the bench, but the ball, David, just seemed to find Marcus Smart in some critical situations where he did not capitalize. Luka was not as efficient as we should see him be, obviously, 45% from the floor and 3 for 10 from distance, and that didn't help the Lakers' cause either. Austin Reeves held in check for the most part for 16 points in 39 minutes. And then for Denver, they did rally together despite being shorthanded, which has been the case for them all season long. You saw great contributions from Christian Brown. You also saw Tim Hardaway Jr. at the bench get 14. It was a good complete game for Denver, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Murray was great, and of course Jokic as always. But yeah, a really solid showing, and Denver looks pretty solid. I still have concerns about whether or not they'll be able to just have everything working on all cylinders towards the end of the season. But for now, at least it's a pretty solid win for a team like that.
Yeah, you're hoping that they can get healthy sooner than later to put everything together because they have the bones of a championship team if they're able to do that. But you mentioned the concern word. That's the same word that Kuka Hill used from Locked On Pistons to describe this Pistons-Spurs rematch.
Is it concern time for the Detroit Pistons? That might be a bit strong, but not a great showing again against the San Antonio Spurs, and this time it was a bit worse. Host of Locked On Pistons podcast, Kuka Hill here. And bigger news for the Pistons, outside of this game, Asar went down in the first 2 minutes of this game. He did not return. We don't know the status of his injury. Looked like it was an ankle sprain. We didn't get an update on anything. If he's out for the foreseeable future, then that is going to change, I think, how people will talk about the Pistons the rest of this season and going into the playoffs. But just sticking to this game, this is the best way to put it. Cade Cunningham, since he's become great, not in his first season, not in his second year, since he's become great, I have seen him have bad shooting nights. I've seen him just not play well. That happens. One of the things that's great about Cade and makes him a superstar is that he does not get sped up. He does not second guess himself. He processes things at a very high level and he trusts what he sees. This game, this is the first team and the first time I've ever seen a team play Cade in a way that had him second guessing what he was seeing, not trusting his eyes, and question his own decision making. He was hesitant at a bunch of times anytime he got near the paint after Wemby blocked him a few times. Wemby's length dissuaded away a lot of potential passes he wanted to get to. That's the best compliment I can give the Spurs. This is the first time a team I've seen make Cade second guess himself and speed him up in a game. He's had bad games. I haven't seen that happen.
Haven't seen that happen at all. Let's stick with the Pistons side of things, then we'll get into the Spurs. David, whenever you're looking at this wide open Eastern Conference and Jason Tatum returns on Friday night for the Boston Celtics, does the Pistons offense give you any sort of pause as they're clearly right now having the best record season in the Eastern Conference, and they put together the most consistent, great basketball in the Eastern Conference. But given their lack of outside shooting, given the ways that this offense can bog down, do you at all have concerns that other teams can, if they have a strong rim protector, can make it to where Cade is inefficient, to where you can slow down this Pistons crew on that end and thus, beatable in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's what makes the East as far wide open as it has been. So, I think all the teams at the top, whether it's the Knicks, the Cavs, Celtics, obviously, and Detroit, they all have weaknesses that can be exploited. So I'm not sure how it'll play out. And I don't know anybody who feels confident being able to say that the Pistons are clearly the best team in the East, or at least that we'll see them be the best team in the East in the playoffs. So they do have issues offensively. You figure that maybe they'll be able be a little bit more solid defensively than what they were against San Antonio tonight. That's been a strength of theirs too. So to be honest with you, I still give them the edge over most of the teams in the East, but it could really work out anyway. So it's not great when you see this team kind of get dismantled as easily, but I think that's also speaks highly to what San Antonio has been able to pull off, and Wembanyama having a great game. Jalen Duren looked clearly outmatched at not being able to handle Wembanyama. So just a little bit of everything. The fact that they were able to, as Coop pointed out, keep Cade from doing what he's been doing all season long when he's been one of the top players in the league. So I think it's not so much about Detroit and their issues. They're good enough to get out of the East. But I think San Antonio has really shown that they'll continue to be one of the best teams in the league.
That for sure. And San Antonio went wire to wire as well. 0 lead changes, 0 ties, led by 22, and led by double digits for the vast majority of this game, including getting to 52 points in the paint against the stellar Detroit defense. It's got to be infuriating in Detroit right now to see San Antonio kind of live in that painted area. But I think that the Spurs are legit, and I think that the only real hole that you can poke in them, as De'Aaron Fox goes for 29 points and Wemby goes for 38 points on 16 rebounds for a double-double there, is just their lack of experience. But are you willing to kind of put that lack of experience in a box, so to say, and say this team really could be that anomaly that doesn't really need it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, wasn't that the knock against Oklahoma City last year as well? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know they did made the playoffs, but I think we're starting to see as the league evolves, experience doesn't mean as much as it might have once did. I think you can see teams make different adjustments over the course of a 7-game series. As long as they're well coached, there's an internal belief in what they're capable of doing, and there's obviously the talent to get things done and a deep supporting cast. I think both teams last year in the finals showed that depth is as crucial as it's ever been. I don't think that's been the case historically, but I think I look at this Spurs team and I'm not too concerned about their lack of experience because they're just been that damn good, to be honest with you.
That's absolutely right. And I look at them and say, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario? Like maybe Dylan Harper has a bad game, right? Because the lights are bright and the postseason is a monster. The odds of like Harper and Castle and Fox and Wemby having bad games at the same time, it's just too low for me to factor in their inexperience level. I think that they're always going to have 1, 2, 3 of these guys step up and play great in a given game, and that cleans up a lot of the margin for errors. They have such a wide margin for error that I think that they're going to be able to for sure overcome their inexperience. I think that if they were to get bounced in the second round or Western Conference Finals or in the finals, it's not going to be because they're too young. It'll just be how the series played out. But I think that they're going to be ready to handle this. And they've handled a lot of tough circumstances during the midst of the regular season. Like,
absolutely
going perfect in a month, that's hard to do for anybody. I don't care how much experience you have. That's hard to do for anybody. And they did that. They've handled that rodeo road trip, which is something that the Spurs organization is used to, but something that can be very difficult for young players to have to go through for the first time. And so they've handled it all really well. Now they're back at home for some fun games. And this was another one where they really answered the call and beat a motivated Pistons team that clearly wanted this game. They'd been talking about it after their last matchup, saying that they'd be ready for the game in a couple of weeks. And they did not control the lead for even 1 second in this game. Shout out to San Antonio for that. Coming up, let's talk Mavs Magic in the rare win that might feel like a loss for Orlando. It was a messy game. We'll talk about that and the upset that brewed for Chicago, all coming up. But first, I want to say right now, but your friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today because FanDuel is awesome. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From the early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a chance to put that energy into a bigger potential win with college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, from rivalry games to ranked matchups, whatever you see fit. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match just how much you want your slate to reflect what you'll be watching, what you'll be rooting for. When you apply the profit boost, it instantly bumps up the potential payout for you. So go check it out today because it gets safe. You can go bold. You can ride your favorite team, whatever you want to do all season long. It's your options here to have it your way on your parlay, your style. And now you have the upside of the profit boost to make bigger payouts by heading to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to get started right before March Madness really gets into full swing. Saturday will be a big one in college hoops. A lot of rivalry games on Saturday, including Duke and North Carolina, Kansas State. There's plenty of action out there for you. You can even check out Arkansas, Missouri, where Missouri at home, 3-point underdogs to Arkansas. Go check that out today at FanDuel. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night Podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here talking with David Rommel of Locked On Heat. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. We're taking you through the Thursday night in the association, which happened to have an upset. The Chicago Bulls went into Phoenix and got themselves a 105-103 win, thanks to Collin Sexton in the starting lineup. He goes for 30 points on 58% shooting in this game, and that was really the driving force, along with Trae Jones' 21 points, that got Chicago this win. It was a game where the Suns, who are going to be without Mark Williams for multiple weeks, were shorthanded in this game, but they still had Devin Booker, who had 27 points on 43% shooting. My guy Jalen Green, David,
Oof.
David,
Oof.
5 for 20. Listen, we're taking a reprieve on Jalen Green Island. He's had the hamstring issues. We're blaming everything that happens this year on the hamstring issues to continue to move the goalpost. Grayson Allen also went 5 for 16 from 3 and 6 for 19 overall. Disappointing loss for the Suns in a multitude of ways. Obviously, they don't want to drop a game to the Chicago Bulls, who are trying to finally tank and pick their direction, but we mentioned the Lakers loss in the clutch. That could have gained them some ground to get out of the play and into the 6th seed if they were able to pull off this win. Instead, they sit here 2 games back of the Lakers. This was a disappointing loss for Phoenix.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no way around it. You have a chance to make up some ground against a really bad Bulls team that's tanking, as you said, and to let that one slip through your fingers there. I mean, Green's performance was probably the most egregious, but it's not like any Suns player really stood out with the exception of Booker.
Yeah, it was a non-great game from everyone wearing a Suns uniform, except for Devin Booker, which he might have been hearing far too often so far in his NBA career. Stands for a couple of reprieve years there that he had. But the Suns will look to get back on track. They've been one of the best stories in the NBA this season. And so they will have to wash the bad taste out of their mouth moving forward. But speaking of bad taste in their mouth, it's watching Houston Rockets basketball at times. Whenever you see Houston in overtime at home drop to the Golden State Warriors 115 to 113. You're thinking, well, Golden State, at least that's a brand name. Listen, Golden State did not have Steph Curry in this game. They didn't even have Seth Curry in this game. They didn't have Jimmy Butler, obviously, in this contest, and yet they still found a way to win because Brandon Bajimski in this game went for 26 points on 55% shooting, hit 4 for 8 from 3, including some clutch threes in overtime that really swung some things. Al Horford had 17 points, turned back the clock. DeAndre Melton had 23 points in this one. I mean, come on. This was rough for Houston. Şengün had 17 points on 40% shooting on 0 for 3 from 3 and playing some bad trap coverage in overtime that likely cost the Rockets this game. KD only had 23 points. Once again, we're sitting here talking, David, about a team in Houston that is sitting here, and you're on standings watches as we've really officially flipped this thing over to even when you look at the NBA.com standings, the playoff bracket is the first thing you see, and you've got to scroll to find the standings. The Rockets were the 3 seed heading into all of this, and now in a night where you saw Denver pick up a win, the Rockets pick up a loss.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It just feels like the Rockets don't have any kind of sense of urgency about what's happening at this point in the season. And I don't know. Maybe it's just, again, missing a couple players here and there. Or just things have been a little shaky this season in ways that maybe not a lot of people expected it to be. But, you get an 0-8 performance from Jabari Smith on the starting lineup. That's not going to help your cause any, but you can't put it just specifically on him. Missed free throws at the end. They do go into overtime. There's an opportunity to close it out and can't get it done. So the Rockets are one of those teams that I think have failed to live up to expectations. That's pretty clear, but I don't know what to make of this group. I'm not convinced that despite the fact that they have Kevin Durant on this roster, that there's the bones of something pretty solid there, that they'll be able to make any kind of push down the stretch, and they might continue to drop even further down the West Coast standings.
Well, we're at the point where I'd be really stunned if the Rockets won a single playoff series and even made life difficult on their first round matchup, because they
finish in the top 4 in the West?
I think that they will finish in the top 4 in the West, but I just don't think that they're going to make any noise when doing so. The lack of urgency, though, I would not push against anyone who says that they fall out of the top 4, but it is a bit of a jumbled mess here for everyone involved. The only good thing about the Rockets game today for me, it wasn't even Kevin Durant's 23 points on 50% shooting. It was off the bench. Reed Shepard had 30 points in 38 minutes, shooting 63% from the floor and 6 for 12 from beyond the arc. They've just got to give the reins and the runway to Reed Shepard moving forward. And today they did that, and today it paid out for them. And I think that was awesome. As you mentioned, Jabari, oh my goodness, 0 for 8. Not a great showing for Jabari Smith, but man, Reed Shepard was good at least.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really figured it out. I know there's still concerns about what he does defensively. He's still got to get it picked on occasion, but the offense has certainly been there as it has for most of the season.
Let's head out to Locked On Pelicans. Jake Madison excited about the Pelicans picking up their 20th win.
Pelicans get their 20th win of the season after a victory in Sacramento. I'm Jake Madison, host of Locked On Pelicans. 20 wins. Not really something you should celebrate, but hey, with how bad New Orleans has looked, they do look like a more competent team. Not a good team, let me remind you, but for a team that's not trying to tank, beating tanking teams, I guess, kind of does matter a little bit. And after a slow start, it was the bench that got New Orleans in this one. And I want to shout out Jeremiah Fears, the rookie point guard who went from starting earlier in the year to coming in off the bench. 13 points is pretty good, but it was the 6 assists from him in this game that showed he's learning, he's growing. You see him making the right reads. You see him creating for others at a level that he wasn't doing earlier on in the year. He was really good in this one. Zion Williamson, pretty effective, 23 points on 14 shot attempts. Saddiq Bey with another 20-plus point game, 21 from Trae Murphy. Everyone kind of contributed in a win over, pretty bad Kings team.
Pretty bad Kings team is a diplomatic response by Jake Madison. They are an egregiously bad team. But hey, the Pelicans aren't trying to tank because they can't tank because they traded away their pick, and at least they picked up a win here. But David, there's plenty more basketball to recap from Thursday's slate, including Anthony Edwards, one of the most fun players to watch in the NBA, had yet another very fun game, very fun highlight moment there a couple of times for Ant. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about this ugly Magic Mavs game and your Miami Heat all coming up. But first, I want to say right now, but your friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Go check out 5 Hour Energy because you're welcomed into the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick in store at the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft, and it has to be for me cherry, the bold cherry candy style flavor with that sweet little tart finish at the end there to give you some edge on your sip. Classic red fruit profile, bright, punchy taste, smooth and easy to recognize. It's also clean and slightly tangy on the finish, so you know what you're getting into after you gulp down your 5 Hour Energy, which not only will give you that boost of energy that you need, but there's zero sugar involved, so there's no crash later. That's the best part. That's the best way to get your energy fixes with a 5 Hour Energy. So you should go try out all of their amazing flavors, over 18 different ones to choose from, and tell me which one is your number one pick in the 5 Hour Energy flavor draft. Go get them today at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Again, 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon to try them all over there. Also, want to tell you right now, but good friends over at Indeed. Go check out Indeed today because we've all been there, right? If you run a business, you know that the workplace can be chaotic at times. The deadlines can stack up, your inbox is overflowing, and there's still that one position in the midst of all this chaos that is still left unfilled. And when the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, from skills to experience to location. And so you're not just getting the right candidate stumbling into your post, you're attracting them, you're finding them, you're going to get them, and you're going to get their attention, not just sitting there hoping. And so here's a stat for you. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes at Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about us from the Indeed podcast here at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Again, need a hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night Podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. You everydayers make this show work. And we're recapping this Thursday night slate, including the Wolves, who got their 5th straight win, 115-107 over the Toronto Raptors. David, Anthony Edwards is one of our favorite players to watch, and so we've been lucky enough to have him on this Thursday slate quite a bit. And in this game, he had a monster poster, which you know that you've come to expect with Ant Edwards. That 3 ball that he's always been developing for the last couple of seasons and is able to hit it at such a high rate. He hit a monster 3 in this game as well, and a big spot. The KG era court and uniforms were on display. This was a fun game for Minnesota as Ant had 22.
Absolutely. Really solid game. A lot of production there. Look, Rudy Gobert was really good today. DiVincenzo was really solid. Even got a good night from Julius Randle, albeit slightly inefficient one. But as always, Anthony Edwards is the main story when it comes to Minnesota. As you said, definitely one of the best players to watch out there. So, you know what? He's got a bright future. He's had a hell of a season. And I'm curious to see just how far Minnesota Timberwolves can go into playoff race right now. Obviously, a few games back of Oklahoma City in the Western Conference Standings, but I think they're going to firmly hang on to that third seed in the West.
Yeah, and listen, it's very hard to get to the Western Conference Finals. They've done it twice in a row. Can this be the third time they get there and the time they finally get over the hump? I'm not going to put it past them. I'm done underestimating the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're that good, that talented. And I think that obviously the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker from back in the offseason hurts them. But if you're looking at like contingency plans of just, okay, that was a decision that was made and you can't go back and reverse it, the next best move was to Sumo, and they got him. He's been a really good addition for them. He's been very solid, and they made the best out of the situation that they could have, the hands that they were dealt, obviously by their own choosing, but still, they made it better at the deadline, and that's all you can really ask for. And we talked about it that Thursday. I don't know of very many contenders who got better besides, OKC picked up McCain, and Minnesota getting Sumo was like right up there with some of the best moves that contenders made, if not the best move that a contender made to get better for this particular season. One that is very important for Minnesota to go contend. We thought it was going to be a very important season for the Magic to contend, but they got out this win 115-114 over the Dallas Mavericks, spoiling Cooper Flagg's return to the lineup after dealing with an injury. David, in this game, you had Paolo, but I still do not like watching the Magic play basketball. Their offense is just horrific. Let's go out to Philip Rossman-Reich of Locked On Magic to hear what he thinks of this offense.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, coming to you from the bodega where Wendell Carter won the game for the Orlando Magic with 1.8 seconds to play. Orlando scoring the last 5 points of the game in the last 40 seconds to steal one from the Dallas Mavericks. Absolutely essential game for the Magic to get if they're going to chase down the Philadelphia 76ers for 6th and maybe climb to 5th. Who knows? But this is the kind of game that you have to get, and sometimes the game you have to steal. Orlando was trailing for most of the first half. They really looked sluggish. They looked sluggish for a good chunk of this game, but they came together, took the lead in the third quarter, had a really bad fourth quarter, and then found the energy they needed. And that's been the key for the Magic all season long. It's been the key for the Magic for the last 5 years, is their energy is unsurpassed, and that's been what's missing for most of this year. They found energy from their defense, and that is really, really, really the secret sauce for this team. For too long and too often this season, it's been their offense that's been driving their energy. When they miss shots, the mood level depresses, and they really struggle with that in the fourth quarter. They found the energy when they absolutely had to, and at the end of the day, they don't care what the final score is. All they care is that you get the win. The Magic got a huge win to close this homestand. They are 8-4 in their last 12. They hit the road for a big back-to-back this weekend as they try to chase down the Sixers for 6th.
Well, you'd always rather, win ugly than lose pretty, but the Mavericks got the best of both worlds. Cooper Flagg returns, and they get the loss to enjoy their tank. Let's go to Nick Day instead of Locked On Mavericks.
The rookies don't impact winning at all, and the Dallas Mavericks absolutely haven't won a lot of games this year, but Cooper Flagg impacts this Mavs team in a massive way. This Mavs team over the last 9 games or so when Cooper Flagg wasn't playing did not look like a competitive basketball team in any sense of the word. But Cooper Flagg comes back. He has 18 points, 4 blocks, 6 assists, 5 rebounds. Doesn't shoot the ball particularly well, 7 of 22 from the field, only hits 1 out of his 5 threes, just plays under 26 minutes, but he made a huge impact with them multiple times where he had an offense and defense impact of play in sequence, where it's like on defense he had a big play, then on offense he had a big play, back to back. You can just see the amount of work that Cooper Flagg can put into a game and the impact that he can have by blocking the ball on one end, hitting a 3 on the other. He had another one where he had a huge help block and then a drive and one finish with 37 seconds left. The Mavs lost another clutch game in this one. They got a decent game from Klay Thompson, 24 points on 7 of 12 from 3. Absolutely awesome. Chris Middleton, 19 points, 7 assists for him. The Mavs lose this one. Another clutch game. Mavs lead the NBA with clutch games with 39. They've lost more of them than they've won. And the Mavs tank continues to
Mavs tank continues to roll. And yes, David, the Mavericks at least compete really hard en route to losing, but the losses are paramount for them. And one of the last years that they controlled the rights to their draft pick, they need to stack it up to help build that team out around Cooper Flag. We'll see if Cooper Flag can play on both ends of a back-to-back and make the court tonight against Jason Tatum in his debut. But you've got us covered for the Miami Heat. They took care of business, beating the Nets 126-110. How did this one go down?
It was a lot tougher than it should have been. For most of the game, Brooklyn was really, really sloppy, and then they kind of just figured it out eventually. Michael Porter Jr. started hitting some big shots. They went on a run, even though Miami had a slight lead. And then Bam Adebayo inexplicably picks up 2 fouls in the third quarter within a minute of each other. So he was out of the game at that point, his 4th and 5th fouls. And then he was just sitting on the bench for most of the game. And they turned the reign over to Khalil Ware, and he wound up having a phenomenally impactful game. That was the difference for Miami tonight, is Ware off the bench having a really solid production, 7 blocks, 5 steals, doing it defensively, but also hitting big shots from both the perimeter and at the rim as a lob threat. He was sensational tonight. It was the glimpse of a potential superstar there, because I think he really does have that kind of impact, the potential impact rather, to change the course of the game on both sides of the ball. He was really, really solid. And they got some really solid shooting from Tyler Hero as well. And it's also the Brooklyn Nets, so it's not too difficult to beat them anyway. But Miami did get the job done. They look ahead now on Friday to a tough challenge against the streaking Charlotte Hornets, and that should be a really interesting matchup as well.
It'll be a fun matchup, and you don't want to mess with those Charlotte Hornets. But David, last game was a fun one for the sake of it being Jazz Wizards. It had more fun than what we would have expected it in, because Trae Young made his Wizards debut in the old school gold and black jerseys that they had from the early aughts, and the Jazz take care of the Wizards in this one, 122-112, because Ace Bailey had a career high 32 points. And also Cody Williams has not had very many good NBA games in his career so far. Put together 13 points and only missed 1 shot when doing so. 2 steals, played some great defense with 7 assists to go along with it, helping out Ace Bailey get to that 32 mark. But Trae Young in his Wizards debut, he's got 1 ejection in a game he didn't play in, and now he's got 12 points for Washington in 20 minutes of work. Also had 6 assists and 2 steals and 2 rebounds in his own right. Were you surprised to see Trae Young make his debut this year for Washington? And what do you think of how this game unfolded?
I no, because I don't think he was really going to be missing that much time. I think it gives the Wizards fans a chance to see the potential in the future, what it's going to be like having a clear star, or at least an established name, lead this team. So not all that surprising. I didn't think it was going to be at this point in March, because, is he going to continue to play consistently over the rest of the season? It seems like with almost 20 games left in the year, that I don't know how many of those he'll appear in, but I thought he would make an appearance eventually. So you know what, this season's already such a lost one for the Wizards. Nothing that they do really matters all that much. They've made their trades. Clearly they're thinking of the future, and we'll see what happens next season. But good to see Young out there again, because he is one of the more recognizable names around the league.
Yeah, and it's good to see just how the Jazz got this win. These two teams were playing hard all night, and the Jazz getting that moment for their fans with Ace Bailey going for a career high. And this draft class has lived up to the hype from this past season. We talked about Cooper Flag earlier. Now we're talking about Ace Bailey dropping over 30. Dylan Harper had a big impact in that Spurs game that we recapped. Of course, we know that the Wizards are surging, like you mentioned, mostly because of Con Knippel, who's been incredible for them as a rookie. VJ Edgecombe's been awesome for the Sixers. Like, this draft class has lived up to the billing, and this was another solid showing for them this night in the association, David.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of young talent there. The league is in really good hands. There's older veterans that are still continuing to define what this league does, but at the same time, there's young players that are making their name, establishing themselves, and it's a bright future for the NBA. Clearly, it's great to see all this young talent kind of infused every season, and I think approaching it with a lot more maturity than I would have expected for such a young class too. They came in there, and Knippel in particular has been really, really solid for a Hornets team that has turned things around. But you also like Flag's poise. I mean, obviously he was a #1 pick, but again, I don't know that everybody expected him to be this good, this impactful, and this versatile so early on in his career, but he certainly lived up to the hype, as have many other players that you mentioned.
He's lived up to the hype. You lived up to the hype tonight, David. This was fun recapping the Thursday night in the NBA. Of course, this is Locked On NBA Game Night, doing this every single night, Monday through Sunday. Plus, you get our Locked On NBA show with Matt Moore, Hayes, and everyone else. Wes is there as well, hosting and piloting the show, the true driver of the show. And also on Locked On Heat with you. Go check out Locked On Heat, Locked On Thunder, and everywhere else you get your podcast. You can find all your favorite teams on the Locked On NBA channel. So until next time, folks, be good and be good to one another.